Merry Christmas. My name's Luke, and I was an usher at a wedding. It was my sister's wedding, not mine.
That was really good. Why did you get usher at your own wedding?
Kent started, man, we've told this story so many times.
Sure, yeah. We did technically start as a high school class project, so we've been together for a while. We're all done university now, but I'd say we've been really trying for about 2 years now.
We started out as a high school class project at our high school. Freddie, Luke, and I were in this guitar class where you had to cover different songs every week. And then we asked if we could stay in the same group for the whole semester. And our teacher, Mr. Kukavacher, let us. And then we just kept making music after. We kept making covers. We'd come home every summer from university and we'd just still jam. And eventually we started writing music. And as we graduated university, we thought, okay, like these songs are pretty cool. Let's give it a shot.
For those 3 years before the first EP, it was always the Kents, and it was always, I'm going to go hang out with my buds. We're gonna go play some music and eat pizza.
I forget what our bio used to say in Kent's neighborhood friendly indie band or something. Neighborhood indie friend. I don't know, like of that nature, and it really was what that band was.
We wrote Waking while we were living in different cities, right? So we did. One of us would write a guitar part or a melody and send it to the other guys. We'd work on that. Waking EP was like this big deal to us. It was a huge deal. We did a pledge campaign so we could afford to do it, pledge music. So we were like raising money, and we were just working so hard to get there, get the demos ready. And when we got there, Derek Hoffman did a great job. He made us sound cool. He made us sound so much better than we were, which is another big thing. Like, he took those songs and made them professional, and we were not.
We were so green. I remember for every day the month before, over and over every day, I'd just play all the songs to the proper BPM because I was so green I could not play to time, and I was so freaked out about getting into the studio and playing to a click track or having to hit all the notes at the right time.
So we put out that EP and we start playing more. We're getting dedicated. We're like, okay, we got to do this. So we're practicing at least 2 days a week. And when I say practicing, it's like, that's our job. Like, we're there for 8 hours, 2 days a week, bare minimum, playing shows while working part-time jobs. So it was like go, trial by fire, learning. I worked at a hotel, and I remember one August, one of my coworkers was like, hey, do you know you booked off 21 days this month? And I was like, oh.
So I joined the Kents going into the first EP. It had already been recorded with our buddy Nate on drums, and he left the band right after. So I came into it pretty much a couple weeks after the recording process, I think. At the end of the day, like that Waking EP didn't really mean anything to me, but it was an exciting time. And we recorded music videos, and we got streams, and we got radio. And we opened for big bands, and it was like, whoa, this is legit. Pretty funny, because, it ended up being a lot of work and not as exciting as I thought. Like, well, it was exciting, but not as, big as I thought. Which is cool, because it meant I was able to help grow the band even more than I expected.
We made this music video, and then we opened for the Strumbellas in our hometown, 2 shows in one day, because they just had this, worldwide single, so our hometown theater was sold out. We got to open for them, which was amazing. And then the next day our music video came out, and so the stakes went on Spotify. And I remember 2 days after it comes out, I get up and I check Spotify, and it had jumped from 6,000 to 60,000 streams, and I was just I was floored. It was the coolest thing. That's when you're young, that's the dream. You don't know how to get there. You don't know how to get your music heard, but it was all of a sudden 60,000 people had heard it in one day. That's insane. Like, that's still weird to think about.
The process between Waking and Within Waves was we're discovering so much about ourselves as we're actually playing with each other consistently. We're discovering so much about music as we're not only discovering things through streaming services, but then we're also going to all these shows.
The second EP, Within Waves, it was kind of when we were transitioning from, I don't know, for a pop band. I think we might be a little more like alternative, and it sounds that way as well. It's a little less pop.
I remember for a while we were pretty set on doing a full-length record next. We were like, okay, first EP's out, we got to do a full-length record. And then we were at some Irish pub on the East Coast that serves Guinness straight from Ireland. Allegedly. It was Freddie's idea to do another EP. Like, thought right on. And at that point we had been writing a lot of songs and stuff, and we had already grew, in my opinion, significantly, you know, from just like straight radio pop that Waking EP was for the most part. So I think a big thing that we had in our heads when we decided to do another EP was, let's do this, you know, let's do 4 or 5 songs to sort of be a bridge to what our record's going to be. So we're not putting out a pop EP and then a 10-song record that sounds a lot different and is, you know, a lot more mature. And I think it was pretty much sort of a bridge to our record, and I think it still acted as a great bridge to our record, even though we rebranded and stuff.
I look at Within Waves as being a huge EP for the process of the band and for the process of us as artists. We were just trying to hone in on our tones more, trying to understand what structure of music was and try and play around within the box a bit more.
Distant and Lowlight, like, they never got tons of streams, but Distant to me was like the first time lyricism was poetic. It was like, it stirred me. But it did. I was passionate about what I had to say, and I thought I said it in a way that I hadn't before.
It got to a point where it just wasn't making sense with the progression to continue to play those early songs.
I think we started to realize we felt like we were boxed in aesthetically. We had a perception of us that was something that we felt didn't match who we were, and certainly not who we wanted to be.
We were kind of bogged down by some of our catalog, the songs in our catalog that were very pop, and we kind of almost saw the band in that light, even though we were kind of progressing away from that genre. And so it was something that was inevitable for us to change our image, change our band name, because our sound was progressing as well, and we didn't really want to be considered something that we were not. There's no like exact kind of epiphany or catharsis that I personally went through, but I think 2018 was a pretty like tough year as a band, because we weren't playing as many shows. 2018, 2019, I guess, and it was something that was kind of like bogging us down, and I feel like as a group we just came to a decision that really altered this kind of path, and we're really glad that we did it.
We put a show that we didn't expect anyone to be at on a tour right before we went to the record, and there ended up being a lot more people, which was sweet. It was a great show. And after, someone came up to us and got weirdly mad. We were trying out our new songs and we were playing Within Waves, and the Waking EP songs just didn't fit sonically with the set. So a person came up to us after the show and got really mad that we didn't play a Waking EP song, like weirdly mad, especially for the size of band we were and still are. He got mad that we didn't play our old songs. he said, "Our new songs suck." And to quote, he said, who do you think you are, fucking Queen? You think you can get away without playing your old song? I think that's the moment I really realized that, like, if we don't change our name, we're stuck. Like, there's going to be this huge expectation for us to play songs from the first EP and even some from the second EP that didn't really fit anymore. And a lot of people were going to be coming to shows as they were to hear those songs.
There is this strange relationship between band and audience. If you come to a show and you pay to see that artist, you're paying to see what exists. And I mean, if you're a true fan of music, you're going in with the notion that you're going to hear some new material, that you're seeing a band that is not a finite creative entity, but something that is working constantly to bring new things to the table, to dive in and get fulfilled themselves. A lot of people don't do that as well, which isn't great, but you know, they hear the songs, they want to hear the songs that they love, and so that's also fair. So there is this strange setup where, like, I know I felt guilty at times when we didn't play Something About Her, because it was like, man, people came to see that song, and it was kind of our young selves being angry and being like, no way, man, like, this is our art. You know, I think we didn't realize, like, we can continue to work on our art and still give people what they want. But I think that was the long process of us realizing it's not that. It's, if we don't want to be that band, we have to change. So, yeah, definitely there was a few times where people were pretty ticked.
Rebranding's a scary thing, especially we had so much success for the size of band we were and the stage we were at as a band, as the Kents, that, you know, for us to just leave all that behind is scary. You know, we spend $30,000 recording a record and we're releasing it pretty much from scratch. You know, the only thing is, from the Kents is the followers, and we don't know if people are going to like it, you know, because there's that huge expectation to release more music that people want to hear, being like Waking EP. So for us to just leave all that behind and start from scratch with this much invested into it and this much time, this much money, it was scary, but it was the right call.
It doesn't make sense where you've built this thing for years now, and you're just kind of gonna throw it all away. But I think, not to get too deep here, but I think that there is an importance with humanity to be willing to let things die. When we just try and keep things alive for the sake of keeping things alive and for fear of them possibly dying and not continuing to go on, we get to a really timid state. We get to this very survivalistic place where we just want to maintain, and the worst thing possible would for this not to happen anymore. Whether it be like a business, or whether I see it so prevalently because I'm a theology major, I see it so prevalently with churches. When you just try and keep things alive, you lose your mission, you lose your purpose. You're kind of just focusing on keeping this thing going, and you have to compromise in so many areas. When you're willing to let things die and trust that there is possibility for new life again, the decision becomes way easier. And you don't have to compromise your mission. You don't have to compromise your values. Yeah, there was a lot of concern from people heading up to it with like, what about all this you built up and you're gonna lose it? I think we were all in a place where we would rather go down with doing what we want to do. We'd rather go down with being honest, with being truthful, with writing from the heart, with performing from the heart, and with having a genuine connection and genuine emotion, rather than just simply trying to keep something alive and just try and be successful, right? We'd feel way better failing at this record as Heaps than failing at this record as Kents, because we did everything we could to be honest to ourselves, and we did everything we could to be as genuine as possible within what we're doing.
I mean, the Kents was something that had to be crossed to get to Heaps, and so there's no like, oh, I wish Kents never existed. I wish Heaps always started from the bottom. Yeah, it was a great chapter in our lives. It really started music for us, and it really, gave us a glimpse into what it can be. So I think I'm really thankful to have that Kent's experience with the guys, because yeah, without it, then we wouldn't have Heaps. I think as a unit, we haven't really changed. We're still funny dudes. Like we still love interacting with people that like the Kents. I think that they will grow with us as well. I think once we have this record out, we'll retain a lot of fans that we had as the Kents, and I think for people that really like the Kents still and don't really vibe with Heaps, I think that's okay too. I mean, there'll always be that Kents catalog somewhere on the internet, and they can enjoy that as well. But I mean, as a group, we're not really worrying about like retaining people as much. I think it's a new chapter for us, and it's an important part of who we are as like a band, an entity.
So there is this world where we could have just stayed as the Kents, but it just wouldn't have been right. I think at the end of the day, the Kents was emotionally volatile because we were young men who didn't know what we were doing, and we had these little doses of success, and everything was just like so high or so low. There was no consistency of like, yeah, cool, like this is our job, sometimes something's not going to go well, sometimes you're going to have a bad show. It was really precious to us, and so that created this environment of fear where we were like, no, like we have to do this, we have to do that, we can't make any mistakes, we could never make our own music video. And so that paired with the idea that we didn't want to let people down who were coming to see music that we weren't going to play really ushered in this era of like, we have to change. We have to change for ourselves, and we have to change to be fair to other people.